Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce myself. My name is Muhammad Ahirul Muhibin, student from Sunan Kalijaga Islamic University, Yogyakarta. I will here explain my talk after reading two chapters in the book by Marco Tiemann. After I reading the first two chapters of the book by Marco Tiemann, I noticed that the basic concept align with my understanding as I previously took a course on the halal industry. The difference mainly in some laws and the implementation of halal certification itself. In the book, the discussion is broader, covering multiple countries, including non-Muslim countries, while in the halal industry course, the focus was more narrow, concentrating on halal Indonesia. Although there were mention of other countries, the details were not as comprehensive as the two chapters of this book. There are a few points and questions that came to my mind after reading this chapter based on my previous knowledge of halal regulation in Indonesia. This include the difference in mazhab in various Muslim countries, the validity period of halal certification in Indonesia, and Indonesia seemingly rush policies are getting halal certification for UMKM or usaha mikro kecil menengah and per banks and the lack of halal certification level system in Indonesia. And the last, an information application for consumer in Indonesia. First, regarding the difference in mazhab across various Muslim countries, this is something I had already inquired about during the halal industry class, where an expert in the halal industry was invited to speak. However, this response was somewhat diplomatic and not entirely satisfying, so I forgot the issue of mazhab will indeed have a significant impact when it comes into international trade, especially in the current era of globalization. For example, in the Shafi'i mazhab, is it believed that all types of fish are halal, regardless of whether they have a scale or not. However, in the Maliki mazhab, some fish without scale are considered unfit for consumption and the prohibited or haram. Another example is that in Shafi'i mazhab, insects are generally prohibited except for certain types like locusts, while in the Maliki mazhab, some insects are allowed to be consumed. Their difference can create confusion or disruption when labeling product as halal, especially when different mazhab are involved. The second issue concerns the validity period of halal certification. Personally, I consider halal to be a sacred as it concerns the well-being of millions of consumers. So that halal label needs to be given serious attention. If halal certification is valid indefinitely unless there are changes in the ingredient of or process of company or usaha mikro kecil menengah or UMKM, it could reduce the sacredness and credibility of the halal label itself. Imagine if a business lacks integrity and fails to report such a change, perhaps due to the procedure involved, cost, or other reason. The policy contradict the halal certification body or HCB, where revision to halal standards are mandated every 5 years. It will be absurd if international regulation called for regular revision, while in Indonesia certification is valid forever unless there is a process or ingredient change. Based on the book, halal is something dynamic, not static. If in the future a case arises where a business has not reported this change, it would erode consumer confidence in the halal label. which could lower the perception of halal certification in that country in the eyes of the global market, especially if it lose trust in own citizen. The third point is closely related to the second, namely the seemingly rushed implementation of halal certification. I understand that the government intention to implement the 10 million halal certification to push Indonesia to become one of the countries where almost all products are labeled halal. However, the policy is like a double-edged sword. The pursuit of such a large target may lead the neglect of some detail, ultimately undermining the credibility of the halal label as mentioned in the second point. The fourth point is a question I've pondered since my high school when my religious studies teacher, one of the best teacher I've ever had, discussed the issue of Islamic banking. In Islamic banking, the fund used sometimes come from conventional bank. Does this still make it a Sharia or Islamic? From that question, and considering that halal is not only about the end product or ingredient, but also in process and supply chain, another question arises in my mind. If a business halal in terms of ingredient process and product, but it borrow money from a conventional bank where the payment or profit involve interest or riba, can that business still given a halal label? When I was young, I once asked my Quran teacher at the mosque a similar question. If I steal something and they donate all of it, will I earn a reward or pahala? The answer that stuck with me, even though I didn't fully understand it back then, was that good intention or clean action should come from clean methods and they will result in something clean. Meanwhile, something good done through dirty or wrong methods become a wrong and not blessed or tidak berkah. The fifth point relates to the level of halal certification. In the two chapter of Marco Timon's book, it's mentioned that there are levels of halal certification, do not by different scale. I personally agree with that concept, especially since some things cannot be 100% guaranteed by human. The banking issue mentioned above could be addressed by categorizing halal certification itself, allowing a consumer to choose based on their preference, faith, and belief are personal and should not be forced upon anyone. The last point was inspired by a non-Muslim country, Japan. I learned about this from a guest lecture during my halal industry course. When preparing this assessment, I researched whether Indonesia has such application and discovered that it does. However, perhaps due to my lack of religious awareness, I was not familiar with this Indonesian application. I knew about the one in Japan first. I believe the existence of such an application is crucial to help consumer seek halal product information. There may be a need to improve awareness of this application so that Indonesian consumer, especially Muslim like I, are aware of it. Maybe I'm a lack of iman. In closing, I remember a piece of wisdom from my Quran teacher when I was a child. Faith in the modern world is like tending a piece of charcoal. If the if you blow on it too hard, it can catch fire. But if you leave alone, it will be a go out. Similarly, in seeking halal product, if we are too skeptical or paranoid, we may become a malnutrition or overwhelmed. But if we are too indifferent, we may consume things that are harmful. And if we carry something impure in our body, it can affect our action as well. Thank you. If there is a mistake in my words, I apologize. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.